All set.
Hey, welcome everyone to the March agenda review. And we have a lighter month, generally speaking, but looking forward to hearing questions. So we'll turn it over to James to lead us through the process.
All right, great. The first item is we're not going to be discussing, which is introductory 89, but just so everyone's aware, that was pulled by the administration, so it will not be on the agenda. So that brings us to the first item, the Finance Committee introductory 90, which is
James?
budget. Yes.
Sorry, can I ask why it was pulled? Do we get an explanation?
Yes, I think they wanted to tweak it a bit. So rather than hold it and do an info and amendment, and they just thought they would pull it and reintroduce it next month with a couple of the changes that they wanted to make.
Okay, thanks.
Just a point of verification, can they pull that since it's already?
Yes, I asked law, and yes, it can be held. You can do one of two things. You don't have to do anything at the council meeting, or what's happened in the past, just as so folks know, as you say, the administration has asked this to be pulled. That would be said by the council president.
I would just interject too, Hazel. I recall this having happened in the past. It's not real common, but I do recall it having happened in the past.
Yeah, I thought we would have to hold it, just hold it when we got to that point in committees, but I could be wrong.
It could be held or pulled. I spoke to Tom Worth.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Bridget updated the committee agenda already online, I believe.
Yeah. So we'll get back to introductory 90, budget transfer, violence prevention services.
I have a question. In this transfer, do we also have to transfer everything related to advanced peace, all the allocations that we already approved?
We will find out.
I was gonna ask if we can get an update on advanced peace implementation, maybe, for the next cycle, but I'd like to get an update.
Yeah, and just along those lines, just an overview of their deliverables and outcomes.
Can we talk about the whole violence prevention office or just advanced peace?
Pathways to Peace and the Office of Neighborhood Safety.
Okay, are there any other questions on introductory 90? If not, we'll go to introductory 91, appointment to the ABC board.
I just have a question out of curiosity. Why do we appoint to the ABC board through legislation if it's not a council member?
I asked that same question. You can ask it, don't let them give you an answer. Technically, you don't have to, but because ABC in their bylaws states that folks on their particular board need to be approved that way, that's how they do it. But no other outside agency does it like that, but ABC does.
So all of the members are approved by council or just a
No.
subset?
Just a subset.
Okay, got it.
All community action programs, when they were established, they had to have a third of their, this is in 64, a third of their boards were supposed to be public, a third were supposed to be private, and a third were supposed to be folks who utilize the services. And I'm sure they just have us or the county ledge confirm the public seats. Probably doesn't need to happen anymore, but it does.
Okay, so if we're good on introductory 91, we'll go to introductory 116, a mandatory agreement, CipherWorks Incorporated online employee training. questions related to this item? No questions. We'll go to NDD, introductory 92, sale of real estate. There are no questions. Introductory 93, lease agreement, 18 Wren Street, American Packing Corporation.
I have two questions. How many parking spots will be added? And what was the formula to decide how much to charge?
Okay. Are there any other questions?
Why do we lease it to them instead of them just purchasing it?
We'll find out. Any other questions? If not, we'll move to the Urban Renewal Agency 2, RURA budget, performance measures, and report. All of you agents. There's no questions on that. Introductory 94, amending the municipal code with respect to the prohibition of eviction without a certificate of occupancy or a good cause.
I have a
I'd like,
question. I'm kidding. I just wanted Mary. We've never been able to ask questions. It's always been us with the legislation.
I'd like a status update from law on where they are with implementation in Albany. Mary, when you organized the session with Albany back in what, October or November, was that their corporation counsel who did it?
Deputy Corporation Counsel.
I assume they're still there.
If they're still there.
Like
What do
that
you
person still works in.
Yes. Yep. Robert McGee, I believe is his name.
Might be helpful if you, well, I guess Patrick was there, but if you would just, I don't know if Linda or Patrick has been in touch with them at all, but I'd love their corporation counsels to connect and give us some updates on where they are with implementation.
Sure. Yeah, it is, has been enacted. It's law as it is in a few of the other upstate cities. I know the last time that we had talked to them, it had not yet gone into effect, but it is now. So certainly would be beneficial to hear from them again post implementation. I also wanted to mention that we got some guidance around what they did in Albany around the no eviction, no C of O, to include language to provide for the case that if a landlord is trying to renew their C of O and there's some good reason why they haven't yet been able to, that be a provision. So we'll be submitting that amendment probably by the end of the day today.
What would be considered good reason, though?
Well, like much of what's in the law, there's some guidance, but ultimately it's up to the judge. But, there could be some circumstance where, there's a tenant preventing the, the inspector from getting in, or they've had some kind of issues with the city. I feel like there's a number of reasons why there could be a legitimate reason, but it would be up to the judge to decide. You got more? I see your face.
I know how much it costs to get in front of the judge, that's all. So
Well, they would already
all.
be in front of the judge. That's the thing. If they were at court trying to enforce an eviction, they would already be there, so.
Any other questions? We did just send out a hearing notice on this. There would be a hearing scheduled at 5:05 on March the 10th, which would be after the already scheduled public hearings after committee meetings next week.
So, okay, just to reiterate, we're having 2 public hearings?
Yeah, the first public hearing is about the map amendment, the legislation regarding amending the city's map. And then at
Okay.
5:05 would be a hearing related to the good cause eviction legislation.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation.
And I think that public hearing I think it will help reduce some of the speakers that might sign up for speak to council by having the hearing on Thursday. It might very well lighten that up a bit. If there's no other questions, we go to introductory 112, charter amendments, nuisance abatement law points for cannabis offenses.
I have a couple questions. My main concern around this is, historically, folks that have been harmed by, the illegalization of marijuana have been Bracken Bound residents, and the way that the licensing system is set up, it can advantage larger corporations and folks that have more resources. I think, if I'm not mistaken, you have to have $500,000 in order to start, and that puts people at a disadvantage. So when I see this, I see penalizing folks for selling outside of the system, and I'm just kind of wondering, what are the consequences for selling without a license? And will it still then be illegal for people selling in the legacy market? And can the city choose not to impose nuisance points for selling without a license?
Can you pull that legislation up? I don't have it in my book here. Please.
It's a tweener, Councilmember Pio.
1 second. Yeah.
Or I can look at my email. When was that sent?
I'll check.
Thank you for saying that, Councilmember Pale, because I don't have it either.
Okay, so I'm not crazy.
It was a tweener. It came in a little while ago. It's on the website.
Friday. Looks like it came in Friday.
Yes, Mary's correct. The tweeners came in on Friday, that group of tweeners.
Yeah. Can we have a deadline for submitting additional questions on this for those of us who haven't had a chance to review it yet?
I believe questions go out tomorrow morning, correct, Roseanne?
Joanne might have stepped away, but
I think you're right.
I'm sorry, I
Dave.
didn't realize she was addressing me. Yes, tomorrow morning, only because they have to be answered by Tuesday and that it doesn't give a long lead time. It depends on the questions too and how detailed they are and how much information you want. But do you think tomorrow morning would work for you, Councilmember Spencer? Do you need more time than that? And Councilmember Peel?
No, I'll review it. When you say morning, that means up to noon?
That would work, yes.
Okay, great, thank you, yes.
Okay.
Okay, and are there any more questions on that legislation? We'll move into the PPW legislation, introductory 95, Rundell Memorial Library exterior building envelope repairs.
Yeah, I have a question. I know it's been asked already, but I'd like to understand how much ARPA funds have already been authorized by council. I don't need to know for what, just a total.
Any other questions?
Tell me what we're on right now, James.
Sorry, Mitch.
Tell me what we're on right now.
Introductory 95, the
95.
Rundell Memorial Library exterior building.
Just a date when we can expect completion.
And I mentioned that at some point in one of our work sessions, DES is going to give us sort of a overview on the Rundell building, given the fact that it's a significant, city structure and that there has been already significant dollars put into repairs and maintenance, and there will be more, just so you kind of have an idea of sort of the master plan for what's coming as it relates to ongoing maintenance, repairs, and construction at the Rundell Memorial Building. There's no other questions. We'll go to introductory 96, 97, Erie Harbor Enhancements Phase 2.
Will this impact people's ability to use the trail during construction?
In the PPW meeting with DES, which I believe they said they were going to work to maintain, some way to connect between the two ends there. And I'm not sure if that'll be diverting people over to the sidewalk on Mount Hope or routing them a different way through, but they're going to attempt to keep it so people can continue on.
Okay.
The payout, did I remember that correctly? I thought that's what they suggested.
That's what I recall as well.
Yeah, please ask the question anyways, but I appreciate it.
Yeah. Any other questions on Erie Harbor? If not, we'll go to introductory 98, 2022 annual parking garage repair and reconstruction project.
Yeah, I have a question. I really appreciated the detail and the notes about this, but I'm wondering what are the updated numbers for the South Ave garage and the Stone Street and the CIP? Was that a clear question? Any
other questions on the parking garage repair and reconstruction? If not, we'll go to introductory 99, Durand Eastman Beach site improvements.
When do they expect completion of the project?
Any other questions? The introductory one. Oh, go
Yeah,
ahead.
just that they include mention of a bus stop, and just want to see if there's already been conversations with RGRTA about having the buses go out there.
Any other questions? And if not, we'll go to the introductory 100, Genesee Firehouse HVAC upgrades and window replacement project.
I have a question on this one. And I appreciate Councilman Pio anticipating it. But the replacement of the boiler and the air conditioning, both of those can be done at the same time by using an air source heat pump. And so I was wondering if there had been an analysis of that done to see whether that would be a good solution. And an air source heat pump basically takes the temperature of the air and the differential, so it actually uses a lot less energy.
Read your mind, Vice President Lupien.
I appreciate that.
Any other questions? Now we'll go to introductory 101, Maplewood Nature Center.
On
Very
this one,
exciting.
yeah, it's very exciting. And one question I have in terms of drives in terms of planning. So once this center is open, has there been significant planning in terms of programming that will also be incorporated into the center? And if so, could we see what that might look like, even if it's preliminary?
Any other questions? If not, we'll go to introductory 102, 103, 104, milling and resurfacing project, Chestnut Street, East Broad Street to East Main Street, on East Avenue from East Main Street to Alexander Street, on North Goodman Street, from Peck Street to Bay Street, and Clifford Avenue to the city line.
I was wondering, there had been a seasonal protected bike lane on that stretch, the first stretch of Chestnut. Is that going to be maintained?
Any other questions? If not, we'll go to introductory 105, agreement Rochester Yacht Club and TS Holding Corporation for the Ready Initiative. Any questions? Now we'll go to introductory 106, official map amendment, Chase Street partial abandonment.
Can we get an update on the properties that were proposed to be taken through eminent domain originally, which I think was like back in March of 2020?
Okay. No other questions? We'll go to introductory 107, grant authorization agreement, GLC Business Services, LLC, cemetery records management consultant services, and budget amendment. Questions on that? We'll move to public safety. Introductory 108, agreement with Wegmans Food Markets Incorporated firefighter prescription medication. Any questions? Move to introductory 109, agreement with LED's Online LLC retail transaction report system. No questions? Introductory 113, agreement, All Paid Incorporated, bail credit card services. This was a tweener as well.
Yes. So I'm just trying to get clarity. Are we charging a 7% fee on the total bail amount? So if the bail was $50,000, would it be 7% of that amount? And then just looking around for, average credit card processing fees seem to be around 1.5 to 3.5%. And so wondering why 7% for this particular purpose.
Yeah, I would also like to see some sort of comparative analysis, kind of like what Mary was saying, of other companies and the costs they offer. And based on being able to likely find agencies that offer a lower cost, why this specific one?
I don't remember seeing if there was an RFP done. Does anyone know?
There's a no
Looking it up.
RFP justification.
There is. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Mhm.
Are there any more questions? If not, we'll move to introductory 117, agreement, Customer Expressions Corporation doing business as Eyesight. Questions?
I just want to make a note on this. It is in the transmittal. But essentially the issue here was that we did a 1-year approval and the company we're negotiating with required 3 years to do business with them. So that's essentially what this is.
Any questions? Then we will move to the new Recreation and Human Services Committee. Introductory 110, grant agreement, Monroe County, Rochester, Monroe County Youth Bureau. No questions on introductory 110. Introductory 111, grant agreement, American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, 2022 Animal Population Control Program. There's no questions on that. Bring us to the last committee of the whole. Introductory 114, confirmation of the budget director. And I believe the finance director should be in here as well. No, is that?
Yes, that's introductory 115. It is there.
Should be right
Sorry,
behind it.
it's not on the sheet that I have, and I'm missing it for some reason. Sorry. Any questions on either of those two items?
It's a tweener. We can get it to you. It's 115, a yellow dot.
Thanks. It may just be in a different spot in my folder. Sorry, but I remembered it, so hey, half the battle. Any other questions? Well, that was
I think
quick.
we're all set. Yeah. All right, thanks, everyone. If you have additional questions related to the tweeners that were referenced earlier, just remember to submit before noon tomorrow. Have a good night, everyone.
Night.